What are the key differences between yourself and a narcissist? And how do these differences contribute to them consistently having the upper hand? Has this ever happened to you? You're dealing with someone who seems to always come out on top. No matter how much you bend over backwards. They manipulate situations with ease while you're left feeling confused, hurt and inadequate. If this sounds brutally familiar, chances are you've been ensnared by a narcissist. One of the most toxic predators our society faces. These smug puffballs seem to operate by an entirely different set of rules, giving them an infuriating edge over the rest of us in personal and professional situations. In this video, we're ripping off the narcissist's mask to expose the crucial differences between how they think and behave versus an everyday, emotionally healthy person. From their twisted superiority complexes to their inexhaustible thirst for control, you'll be shocked at the psychological superpowers these creeps wield to consistently gain the upper hand and make your life miserable. We'll also dive into specific tactics narcissists use to exploit those key differences, allowing them to dominate interactions and relationships for their own ego gratification. It's going to be an eye-opening, rage-inducing, but absolutely crucial perspective shift. Because once you understand how insidiously narcissists operate from a totally different reality than the rest of us, you'll be armed and dangerous against their manipulative mind games. Let's get started. If you find this info useful for spotting and shutting down these toxic swindlers, make sure to subscribe for more videos exposing the malignant mindsets and methods of narcissists and other disturbing personality types. The superiority complex, their warped self-perception. While most of us go through life questioning our self-worth and doubting our capabilities at times, narcissists start from the deranged premise that they are essentially modern-day deities walking among us pesky mortals. It's an integral part of their superiority complex and arrogant, unrealistic self-perception of being smarter, more attractive, and simply better than everyone else in every possible way. Some differences that make a narcissist believe they're better. Artificial confidence. To a narcissist, admitting any flaw or mistake is akin to the sun imploding. Their egos are constructed of industrial-strength fortresses designed to shield them from feeling even a microscopic lack of self-worth. Their artificial confidence comes from deeply ingrained beliefs like, "I'm the most intelligent person in any room. My looks and status are superior to everyone around me. Regardless of the situation, I'm always the person who's correct." At a workplace meeting, a narcissistic manager will arrogantly dismiss experienced employees' data-driven recommendations and insight because in their deluded mind, "I'm the successful entrepreneur here. What would you workers know?" Grandiose sense of importance and uniqueness. While a well-adjusted person understands they are one human being among billions, each narcissist fervently believes they are the main character living in a reality show produced solely for them. They have a completely exaggerated sense of how special, influential and significant they are compared to ordinary people. A self-important local official will throw a nuclear temper tantrum at a restaurant, demanding frantic staff members cater to their every whim like literal royalty simply because in their grandiose mind, "I'm the one who decides if this place gets permitted next year." Fantasies of unlimited power and success. Narcissists don't just believe they're better than you and me, they convince themselves they are destined to be future kings among men. Regardless of their actual station or accomplishments in life, they construct elaborate fantasies of being wealthy, world-renowned, wildly successful icons with resources and authority most could only dream of. An underemployed narcissist will constantly bombast acquaintances with lengthy diatribes about their genius billion-dollar business idea. "They'll be rich and famous from any day now, and you'll all be sorry you doubted and disrespected me." At their core, the narcissistic superiority complex is a defense mechanism overcompensating for their soul-crushing insecurity and inadequacies. But it gives them a self-granted psychological edge to mistreat and demean others without remorse. The exploitation of empathy, their human Etch-A-Sketch. While you and I experience the world through lenses of authentic compassion and emotional intelligence, narcissists see empathy as more of a supernatural power to be hacked like mind control. They don't feel genuine emotions for others, only contempt for what they perceive as weaknesses to be manipulated. That's where their exploitation of human empathy truly shines and separates them from us. Weaponizing vulnerability. To a narcissist, seeing someone else in an emotionally vulnerable state like sadness, guilt or fear isn't a moment to offer comfort and support. It's an invitation for them to pounce by calculating how to mercilessly twist that insecurity or trauma for their own amusement and advantage. A narcissistic mother-in-law will viciously berate her fresh-from-childbirth daughter-in-law over her post-baby weight, knowing she's in an extremely delicate hormonal and self-conscious state. "You'd better get your disgusting body under control before my son leaves you." Mirroring your deepest desires. If a narcissist recognizes you're craving friendship, intimacy, professional mentorship or attentive parenting they never actually provide, they'll co-opt that desire into an idealized facade tailored just for you. It's emotional Pied Pipering, using the romantic fantasy you want to see as bait on their toxic hook. A narcissistic salesman love bombs a single professional woman his company's age with excessive flattery about how she's a total catch with her career and looks. Once her guard is down, he separates her from friends, family under the guise of being her destiny, only to cruelly discard her down the line. Cold lack of reciprocating emotion. Narcissists give exactly 0.0% of the empathy and compassion they meticulously study in their victims. While you may profoundly empathize with someone's troubles, care for them unconditionally in hopes of reciprocation, and beat yourself up over mistakes, a narcissist simply cannot comprehend or mirror those human emotions we take for granted. Their reaction is akin to trying to describe colors to a blind person. A husband excitedly tells his narcissistic wife he landed his dream job after years of underemployed struggle, hoping she'll share his joy and relief. She responds by phlegmatically stating, "About time you've finally become useful," and changing the subject to herself. With their profound inability to empathize or feel genuine emotion for others, narcissists effectively have a blank internal slate to infinitely rewrite how they perceive and approach human dynamics through their exploitative lenses. And it's a petrifying advantage they wield over us. The control freak, their twisted need for power. While you and I are content to live and let live as long as we're not harming others, narcissists perceive even the slightest inkling of autonomy outside of their control as an existential crisis demanding full-scale war. Like petty tyrants governing tiny personal empires, they are obsessed with consolidating power over every aspect of their warped realities. What fuels their ravenous appetite for control? A few key differences. Inability to let go of any perceived slight. No matter how insignificant the grievance or how long ago it might have occurred, narcissists cling to grudges with more conviction than Joe Pesci in Casino. They perceive whatever embarrassment, challenge to their inflated egos or deprivation of their entitled wants as unforgivable betrayals that must be avenged. After over a decade, a narcissistic woman is still waging a smear campaign against her ex-husband's new wife because she can't let go of the fact that he initiated their divorce and left her for someone else. Seeing personal choices as personal attacks. To a normal person, friends, family or co-workers, making personal decisions for their own lives even if it inconveniences our own desired outcomes is accepted as reasonable. Not to narcissists. They pathologically interpret any decision made without their input or explicit approval as a breakdown of their authority that cannot stand. A narcissistic father disowns his adult daughter for deciding to take a job in another state. To the controlling dad, this is an unforgivable act of defiance, not just his child reasonably living her own life. Needing to be the unrivaled center of attention. While healthy individuals are content being part of an ensemble or sharing the spotlight, narcissists perceive any shift of focus or glory away from themselves as a threat to their delusional self-worth. They must always be the main character, no matter how ridiculous or destructive that entitlement becomes. At a small work team's meetup, a narcissist will rudely interrupt conversations, do anything to forcibly insert themselves into discussions, and incessantly talk over everyone to ensure they dominate the airtime and attention. If others don't obediently listen to their made-up anecdotes and bloviations, they'll turn into raging bull tantrums of, "How dare you disrespect me like that?" Much like their superiority complexes protect them from feeling flawed or inferior, their obsessive control freakery stems from the same dark well of insecurity and emotional bankruptcy. Difference is, their irrational grasp on dominance toxically impacts all of us forced to share their air. The brain hacker, their sinister psychological tricks. If you and I studied psychology, chances are we'd use that knowledge to better understand our own thought patterns, develop healthier coping mechanisms, and foster deeper connections with others by tapping into emotional intelligence. Narcissists, on the other hand, view psychology as a virtual Konami code for short-circuiting other people's minds and willpower. They wield their acute understanding of human psyches not with humanity and wisdom, but as a hacker ransacking your mental emotional data for their cruel exploits and depravity. Their psychological playbook includes love bombing to love withholding. When a narcissist finds a new source to idealize and siphon attention from, they employ one of the cruelest mind games in existence, love bombing. That's where they shower their intended victim with non-stop flattery, affection, future faking, and trapping them in a simulated reality of being unconditionally loved and adored. Right up until they abruptly detach and devalue with punishing bouts of withholding love, approval, conversation, and intimacy for the slightest perceived transgression. A new boyfriend will excessively spoil his partner with gifts, phone calls, social media affirmations, and romantic gestures for months to make him feel beloved. But when she innocently declines a dinner date due to work, he punishes her for being selfish by giving the silent treatment for a week straight. Gaslighting and Rewriting History. As if their cruelly hot and cold love cycle wasn't maddening enough, narcissists compound the mindfuckery by pathologically gaslighting you into questioning your very grasp on reality and adeptly rewriting their own documented history of behavior. A husband takes his wife on an anniversary dinner only to spend the entire meal verbally berating and belittling her in front of the whole restaurant over an argument they had days prior that he's totally distorted into slanderous fiction. When she tries to calmly remind him of the actual chain of events, he screams, "That's not what happened at all. You're making things up because you're crazy." Ambient Abuse and Conditioning. While most abusers cycle between explosive high-drama tantrums and reconciliation, narcissists prefer more insidiously eroding your sense of worth and agency through gradually intensifying doses of withering put-downs, silent treatments, intentional embarrassment, and unpredictable swings of intermittent reinforcement. It slowly boils you in their cesspool of despair and dependency. A narcissistic boss will subtly undermine their assistant's confidence through frequent backhanded compliments about minor mistakes, calling them incompetent in front of higher-ups, purposefully giving them contradictory instructions to set them up for failure, and ordering them to perform menial tasks outside of their official responsibilities just to flex their power dynamic. So while we utilize psychology to maximize human potential and understanding, the narcissist's twisted psychological weaponry is designed solely to brainwash their victims into accepting emotional torture as love. Scary stuff. The empathy vortex of darkness. We've covered some of the key psychological and behavioral differences that narcissists deviously exploit to elevate themselves over everyone else. But what are some of the broader unique traits that give them a consistent upper hand? Lack of accountability or shame. While most of us feel a moral duty to act with integrity, accountability and shame, sociopaths and narcissists experience a complete lack of shame or care for consequences. They feel zero remorse over harmful actions. This allows them to behave selfishly without restraint. Pathological lying. Whereas decency and trust keep most people honest, narcissists constantly lie and gaslight to serve their desires in the moment. No facts, evidence or past lies deter them. They easily contradict themselves, rewrite history, and make up fictions to preserve delusions. No sense of mutuality. Most people understand healthy relationships are a two-way street of give and take. Narcissists are psychological vampires who only take, never giving unless supplying crumbs for fuel. They cannot comprehend the idea of true mutuality or compromise. Exploiting empathy. As covered earlier, narcissists are devoid of empathy themselves. But they cynically study and exploit neurotypical people's empathy, compassion and desire for emotional connection to manipulate them without reciprocation. Never loses control. No matter how wildly rage-filled or abusive narcissists act, they never fully lose control of their false selves or agendas. Their behaviors are calculated to keep victims enmeshed through trauma bonding, while deflecting accountability. Even positive human traits like giving chances, expressing emotions, and being empathetic become weapons in narcissists' hands. Their utter lack of conscience and ability to stay unwaveringly in character as the vicious heroes of their false realities is incredibly difficult to combat. Protecting yourself, using their kryptonite against them. Phew, I know exposing the psychological X-ray vision and slithery mental manipulation tactics narcissists wield against us is utterly demoralizing and anxiety-inducing. It truly feels like fighting an evil Terminator with infinite ammo while we're over here with plastic sporks. But here's the crucial mindset reboot you need to internalize: narcissists are actually incredibly insecure, weak human terrors. Systematically constructing a deranged, maze-like mental prison to clumsily project their illusions of power and importance. And you cannot reason with the pathological irrationality of inmates running that asylum. Their greatest kryptonite vulnerability, believe it or not, is being starved of your energy, focus and fear to keep feeding their sad delusions of grandeur. So while going full no contact may seem terrifying, it strips a narcissist of the only true power they crave: your attention and reaction. That's why the most heroic things you can do are allowing yourself to feel repulsed and enraged. One of the biggest mistakes people make is internalizing the narcissist's constant gaslighting and abuse as signs that we are the flawed, unlovable ones. Give yourself permission to acknowledge how utterly reprehensible and repulsive a narcissist's behavior is rather than letting them corrupt your self-worth. Setting calm, defiant boundaries from day one. At the first whiff of narcissistic superiority complex, control freakery or cruelty towards you or others, calmly explain your boundaries in clear, straightforward language. Then stick to those boundaries without ongoing explanation, argument or justification. The narc will rage and try to assail your reality, but simply keep restating, "I do not accept abuse," without defending yourself. "I'm sorry, but I cannot continue a relationship where I'm constantly disrespected, lied to and criticized for having reasonable limits. I've made my boundaries clear and you persist in violating them, which is unacceptable." Consider this conversation final unless you can commit to productive counseling. Never sacrificing your reality and truth. When a narcissist writes outlandish revisionist histories or denies their own vile actions you've directly witnessed, refuse to be gaslit into arguing within their illogical false reality. Stay grounded in your truth, trust your perceptions, and disengage further discussion. Finding your tribe of sanity and self-compassion. Nothing disempowers and deflates a narcissist quite like their target having a solid support system that reminds them of their inherent worth, helps them reality check the ambient abuse, and provides the strength to walk away. Surround yourself